Hi there, thanks for coming back to Private Pilot Ground School. This video is all about airports. We'll be talking about air traffic control, markings, signs, taxiways, runways, you name it, we'll cover it. For the sake of time, I'll only say some of this stuff once, so please pay attention, rewatch, pause, and if it's not in the video, please read the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge or leave a comment below. This is an airport diagram. It's for John Glenn Columbus International Airport in Columbus, Ohio. At the very top, you have an ATIS, and ATIS stands for Automatic Terminal Information Service, or Coded Weather Information. You'll hear a letter at the beginning of the report to identify the particular weather broadcast. For example, Columbus International Airport Information Zulu. Wind 110 at 10, visibility 10, sky clear, temperature 22, 2.18, altimeter 29902. Arrivals expect visual approach runway 10 left. Notice the airman, runway 10 right, 28 left, closed. Advise at initial contact, you have information Zulu. At non-controlled airports, you'll see an AWOS or an ASOS, and those are both automated systems for weather. The tower controls takeoffs and landings. These are the runways. We have 10 left and 10 right. They're numbered based on the direction in which they face. Runway 10 is roughly 100 degrees on the compass, meaning it goes to the east. You drop the last digit and you get a 2-digit runway number. And when we have parallel runways, you get a left and a right designation. Sometimes there is even a center runway if we have 3 runways that face in the same direction. When we take off, we do so into the wind. You get wind information from the ATIS and also by looking at a windsock. It's a tube that inflates when the wind blows into it, and it shows the direction of where the wind is coming from. And once again, we take off into the wind. Now, let's say we're taking off and you'll take off of runway 10 left. You'd go upwind, then crosswind, downwind, turn base, and then final. This is what's called a traffic pattern. This is a standard traffic pattern, meaning it's to the left. You're making all of your turns to the left. But if you notice, if you did that on 10 right, you would probably run into somebody taking off of 10 left. So you need to make sure that you know which way the traffic pattern is laid out at every single airport you go to, and you also need to know what the traffic pattern altitude is. Most of the time for small airplanes it's 1,000 feet above the elevation. When you're flying into a controlled airport, air traffic control will tell you where to enter the traffic pattern. In other words, enter on the downwind for runway 10 left. At a non-controlled airport, there is no air traffic control. So the standard procedure is to come in at a 45-degree angle to the downwind leg, make sure the area is clear so that you won't run into anybody, and then make radio calls on each one of those pattern legs so other airplanes know where you are. Ground control controls aircraft while they're moving on the airport surface. All these are taxiways that are under air traffic control. At certain airports, there are non-movement areas, or these areas that are shaded, where you don't need air traffic control permission. Now on to markings and signs. Mandatory instruction signs are red with white lettering. They show an entrance to a runway or an ILS holding position. The hold short marking is very distinct and has 2 solid lines on the taxiway side and 2 dashed lines on the runway side. Don't cross unless you have an air traffic control clearance at controlled airports. Information signs show where you are or how to get to somewhere. Part of those are direction signs, and they are yellow with black lettering. They point in the direction to where taxiways lead. A location sign is black with yellow lettering, and it shows where you are located. Taxiways are marked with solid yellow lines on the sides and a solid yellow line down the middle. At night, blue taxiway edge lights illuminate the edges of the taxiways. Sometimes you'll see blue reflectors where there are no lights. Runway markings are white. You have white edge lines and then a dashed center line down the middle. At night, the runway edge lights illuminate white, except for the last 2,000 feet or half the runway, whichever is less, and then they turn to amber. There is also a red light going across the end of the runway. The threshold is the beginning of the runway, and the threshold markings, or the stripes, show the width of the runway. Sometimes you will have a displaced threshold, and that's an area where you can't land, but you can use for taxi and takeoff. You'll see white arrows leading up to the threshold, and that's the displaced threshold area. Some runways have a blast pad, or an area where you see yellow chevrons. They're the little arrow-looking things, and you can't use that for taxi, takeoff, or landing. The runway number is next, followed by big rectangular 1,000-foot markings, and then 500 feet markings thereafter. Those red and white lights on the side of the runway are called PAPIs, or Precision Approach Path Indicators. They show you your glide path when you're coming in to land. If you see 2 white and 2 red, you're on glide path. All white, you're too high, and all red, you're too low. We also have VASIs, or Visual Approach Slope Indicators, that show you the same information, just in a slightly different way. We have 2 separate rows of lights. If you see red over white, you're all right, means you're on glide slope. If it's red over red, you're too low, and if it's white over white, you're too high. This might be a good place to talk about airport beacons. Airport beacons are rotating white and green lights that you'll see when you're flying at night. Now, civil airports are white and green, as I mentioned, but there are a few other ones that you might not be familiar with, and here they are. Anytime you talk to air traffic control, they need to know the 4 W's. Who, where, and what. Who are you calling? Who are you? Where are you? And what do you want? For example, Columbus Ground, Cessna 12345 at the GA ramp, taxi with information Zulu. Or Charlotte Tower, Cessna 12345, 10 miles to the north, inbound for a full stop landing. The more you fly, the more comfortable you will get with the radios. It does take a while, so please be patient and remember to know what you're going to say before you key the microphone. In aviation, we use the phonetic alphabet when talking on the radio. There is no better way to memorize phonetics than to actually use it in practice. Now, personally, I used to read license plates in phonetics as I drove, and believe it or not, that does actually work. What if you have a radio failure while you're flying? How do you communicate to come in for a landing with air traffic control? Well, the guys up in the tower have a big flashlight with different colors in it. Light gun signals are a really good thing to memorize, so pay attention to this chart. Basically, you look at the tower for light gun signals, and then you do what the signal means. The biggest thing you need to know about air traffic controllers is that they're people just like you. If you do get a chance, have your instructor take you up on a tower visit. You'll get a different perspective and a different view from behind the mic. And most importantly, you'll realize that nobody's out to get you, they're just trying to get their job done, just like you're trying to get your flying done. Now, I know that was quite a bit of information, so let's do a quick little recap before the end of the video. You get to the airplane, you listen to your ATIS and its information Zulu, then you call up ground control and you say Columbus Ground, Cessna 12345 at the GA parking, taxi with information Zulu. Cessna 12345 Columbus Ground, taxi runway 10 left via Delta 5, Delta, Hotel, Echo, Echo 6. When you get to the end of the runway, you switch over to the tower. Oh, and by the way, the other runway is closed, and that's why we're taxiing over to 10 left. Cessna 12345 Columbus Tower, runway 10 left, cleared for takeoff, make left, close traffic. So now you add power, you take off, and you head upwind, then turn crosswind, then you turn downwind, and somewhere on the downwind the tower will say Cessna 12345, runway 10 left, clear to land. And then you repeat the instruction, you turn base, you turn final, and then you come in for a landing. Now let's say you land and it's a long landing and you end up at Echo 3. As you get ready to exit, the tower will tell you Cessna 12345, contact ground 121.9. And as you exit, you switch over to ground and you tell them Columbus Ground, Cessna 12345 at Echo 3, taxi to GA parking. Cessna 12345, taxi to parking via Echo, Hotel, Delta, Delta 5. And then you taxi on your way over to parking, and that was a short takeoff and landing, but it does summarize kind of how air traffic control and traffic patterns work. As always, if you have any questions, please read the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. If that doesn't clear things up, please leave your comments in the comment section below. Have fun, fly safe, and always keep learning. See you next time.